Welcome back, everybody. We're doing another fun episode of Indie Reads Aloud. You guys know that I go to book festivals all the time, and I'm always on the lookout for new talent, for different talent, and for writers who just love what they do. And when I was at the Detroit Book Fest this year, I found these two folks, S&E Black. They're amazing fantasy writers. They're amazing human beings, and I'm so happy to have you guys on the show. Eddie and Shannon, thank you so much for coming today.
Well, that's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you for having
Yes.
us.
Thank you for letting me not call you by your initials. I appreciate that. It makes me feel a
Yeah,
little
we're
weird.
friends now. Yeah.
Well, exactly. I'm special. I get to call you by your names. So tell me a little bit, just like the background about what made you go from the day jobs you have, which, by the way, we were discussing in the green room, are tremendously normal, to then deciding to take the leap and become authors. Because that's not an everyday choice for everyone. So what was it that made you guys say, okay, we're going to do this?
Yeah.
I
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
this all kind of started with Shannon actually. There was with our current book Fragments, the first iteration of it was written solely by her and published kind of under the radar back in 2015. And that's around the time that we got together. And so um, around the time, well, 2017 was when she started work, just very rough work on book two, and she just kind of started bouncing ideas off of me, and so I gave my 2 cents. I gave suggestions, and that kind of just snowballed into a full-blown collaboration. And so we wrote book two of our series together from the ground up, and so when we wrapped that up with everything that had expanded and just grown with everything that we created together, we decided together that we just need to go back to the first iteration of Fragments and revamp it from the ground up, give it a new facelift and all that stuff, so that it's in line with everything that we created together. So that's
Fantastic.
where we are right now. And so
That's
she
so cool.
so she kind of just made an author out of me, so to speak, you know?
Forced you against your will into the creative world. I like it. So Shannon, give me an idea of what that collaborative effort is like. I mean, there's a reason that authors are pretty much, living in garrets above cheese shops in Paris because we are really like, solitary creatures when we create. So what was it that made you want to do this as a collaborative thing? How did that come about?
Well, it was certainly when I mean, just we've had our friendship. We've known each other since like we were 13 years old, and our lives went one way and kind of bounced back. And just naturally, when I was bouncing ideas off of him for, what I would get like writer's block, things like that, and the feedback that I would get would be it was so genuine, and it kind of started like opening up other portals to this world that I was creating by myself. And I just thought that together with the collaborative effort, we could do more. And that's exactly kind of how it all started, really.
So do you guys plot things out? Do you start
Yes.
with the general
Yeah.
idea and then pants it the rest of the way?
Well, because
How does
interestingly
that
enough,
process work?
so a lot of that's like I think the most frequent question that we get is like, how did two authors kind of come together and actually
Mhm.
work on this? Well, we had to learn that, and it started actually us sitting in front of the same machine and taking dictation, and like almost like taking dictation essentially. And so one
Yeah.
person would be writing, one person would be talking, or we both would be talking, and then like who's writing now? And we realized we would never complete this book in a
It
timely
did
manner.
not work.
No, it was no matter how much we tried. So we kind of had to figure that out. So we have a start and an ending for the series itself. So we
Mhm.
know where we started, where it definitely will be ending. And it's essentially kind of getting the skeleton together for the books, each of the books. And from there
Mhm.
you have to further refine it to kind of piece together this crazy universe that we're creating in not even just like a diplomatic way, but just making sure that we're covering all the bases. So needless to say, the notes that we have and this world building that we've been doing, it's massive. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And a good part of it has unfolded organically, just because, like while we're in the writing process, we're um there's always the possibility of things, changing or new ideas coming about, if something's going to work better and stuff like that. So,
Right.
so yeah, part of it is pantsing, like the kind of
Yes.
free flowing organic part of it.
Yeah, that whole throwing noodles at the wall to see what sticks thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it was kind of a little bit hard for me in the beginning because since I already had like this idea for these, characters or the original storyline, since 2015 and before, sometimes I would think that this is the way that it is, right? And when you're working with someone and someone who can actually see beyond that, and they say like, maybe that's not the best decision, you have to actually be open to change. And quite honestly, in the beginning, that was hard for me because I would just say, well, that's the way that it is. And it didn't really work out. And then you have to, take a step back and actually you do have to remember this is a collaborative effort and, to give control over. And every change that we've kind of made in that respect has just continued to grow the universe in a very
Hmm.
positive way. And I'm super thankful for that.
So, Eddie, let's do this. Set the scene for the universe for us. Describe to us what this universe is that we're going to hear a little bit about today.
Okay, yeah. So, well, in Fragments, you're introduced to some parallel worlds that run parallel to our own Earth. Just distant worlds, if you will. So Earth gets introduced to them because of this feud that's going on between these worlds. Kind of bleeds over into what's going on, and so there are two of our main characters who are Earthbound start learning about these distant worlds. One of which is called Celestine, and the beings from this world, they kind of resemble who we, like you and I, would maybe perceive as angelic beings, because
Okay.
they're celestial. They have wings and everything like that. And another one of the main realms that we explore is called Daeva, and this is a realm that feuds with Celestine, and beings that come from Daeva, we would we would actually perceive them to be more of like demonic creatures. They're a little bit more they have a bit more of an edgy look to them. Some of which have horns, just like harder
Okay.
features to them. So we kind of take a little bit of an approach to like an angels versus demons sort of thing, but there's the religious aspect of all that is completely absent. It's just, how we perceive these
Got it.
creatures.
Okay.
They're not actual angels, they're not actual demons. They're just how they're perceived by humans.
Fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
so Shannon, give me a real quick synopsis of the first book, and this is called Chimera Snare Fragment.
Chimera with
Chimera.
a heart, yeah, with a hard K.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
see,
Chimera.
see,
Yeah.
you mess that up. You spell it with a CH and then you make me pronounce it with a K.
well, in the very beginning of the book, we have it. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's like hidden, but it's like a little bit in the beginning where we have like is it the enunciation and
It's
like
a
the
pronunciation.
yeah
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
definition of it.
English, I don't care what any teacher tells you, English is not a language you can sound out.
I agree one
Nah.
billion%. So the skinny end of the long is high school chaos clashes with an otherworldly feud as two earthbound teenagers work to thwart a reality bending showdown.
Holy moly. Okay, so first of all, that's a really captivating story idea. And secondly, the fact that you have your pitch so specific and you know it so well only alludes to the fact, as we talked in the green room, that you've done like 8,000 different shows this year already. So,
I do have a story about this particular one because at one show we did a mall event. It was like 3 months into releasing the book, not even or
Yeah.
something like that. And
Something like
and
that. It was really
and
early.
it was a
Yeah.
terrible start to the event. We were in an area where things were just closing stores and no traffic was there. And we had asked to move. And thankfully, on the second day, they were like, sure, move. But this was in the middle of mall traffic. We walked about a half a mile because it was one from one end all the way over, like
Yeah.
physically carrying everything. We were
Yeah.
halfway. I think we just finished setting up, and then folks were looking at our setup, and then they asked us for the elevator pitch. When I was like, I don't know my name. I don't even know that I wrote a book right now, and I felt
Right.
so embarrassed because I couldn't just spit it out, and so I was like, I am going to memorize this, whether it kills me or not. So I
Well,
did,
Yeah.
you've
and I
done
feel
a
so good.
fabulous job at that. I mean,
Yeah. We kind of put it together while we were sitting there.
that first of all, the dreaded synopsis is something that all authors struggle with, but then to
Oh,
get it
yes.
down to a show pitch like that is really, really hard. So kudos to you guys. You figured it out.
We
Thank you.
did.
Well
We did.
done. Okay, now you're both going to read for me a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Who's going to start reading?
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try.
Okay, so this is the Chimera Snare, Fragments, and
Hmm.
Shannon Black. When you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
All right, we're starting with the prologue, which is The Way of Leyland Ailey. Shiny strands of long black hair whipped over Vaughn's face as he settled into his dream walk. With anxious, dashing eyes, he scanned the bleak landscape surrounding him until the silhouette of a woman in a flowing white nightgown slipped out from behind a thicket of knotted deadwood. Navrin, whose essence he had relentlessly tracked, clutched the sides of her arms and watched the dense fog roll through petrified branches of dead trees. As she traipsed ahead, perplexed by the encompassing desolation, Vaughn released a tense, warm breath into the air. Though so close, she felt just as far away as she did since the fateful day she was banished from Celestine. No matter how helpless of an endeavor it seemed to be, he always returned to her side, determined to free her from the cursed diablerie that bound her. Vaughn eased his rigid posture and set out in her direction, pondering a new angle of his approach that could trigger the reawakening of her mind. His rugged boots crunched over the uneven terrain and filled the air with an eager disharmony as he descended a low-rolling hill. Startled, Navrin turned towards the racket of tumbling rubble behind her. "Who are you?" she uttered sternly. "And where am I?" Her inquiries felt like a sword to the gut, even though he knew she wasn't to blame for her predicament. A gentle smile he wore failed to mask the depth of heartache that bled through his eyes. Strength, with his, Strength wasn't something he had typically battled with, but his waning patience and self-doubt persistently tested his fortitude. Once through the maze of deadwood, he replied, "This is what controls you." Confused, she whispered, "This wretched emptiness?" "Yes, you've shown me this very place." "Do I know you?" Vaughn nodded. Though it was typically difficult to interact with her inside the dream walk, their conversation prompted him with an idea on how to part the veil lying over her memories. He lifted his hand towards the sky and evoked the shimmery apparition of a crimson-tinged moon. "This is Hyrene," he revealed as her eyes widened. "The Triad's crown. Don't you remember?" I wish I could. It's beautiful." As she gazed at the looming satellite, Vaughn hoped to find the familiar longing in her eyes. Yet no matter how lovingly she watched Hyrene trail above her, emptiness sat within her distant hazel irises. "It feels like ages since I've watched you admire it. I've missed that." Embarrassed by his confession, Navrin looked at him and said, "How do you know me? Tell me who you are." Vaughn hesitated. He had answered the same question in various ways, yet she never remembered. "Tell me," she pressed. "Please?" Frustrated and yearning for an outcome different than all the times before, he took her by the shoulders and proclaimed, "My name is Vaughn. I need you to remember me and what's surrounding us." "How? I don't even know who I am." Vaughn's gaze hardened. "You're Navarin. You're a warrior and a guardian of Celestine. Come on, you're stronger than this. You have to fight to remember what happened," he urged. "It's the only way I could bring you back." His passionate declaration only sowed further confusion. "Bring me back to what?" she shouted as she tried to wriggle out from his grip. "To Celestine, to your home. This doesn't make any sense." Fawn pulled her in close. "You have to remember. I won't stop until you do. Everything depends on it." As he proceeded to reveal more details from her forgotten past, his red irises started to glow. Fearful at first, Navrin found herself fixated on the strange comfort she felt while looking into his eyes. Her expression relaxed as a soothing, weightless sensation overtook her, a feeling that had eluded her since it all began. Time slowed to a crawl, and Vaughn's voice dampened until it became inaudible, as if she were submerged underwater. She continued to study his face through his sentimental testimonial and placed her hands upon his cheeks. Her unexpected gesture and a gentle smile that parted her lips stopped him in his tracks. As she motioned to speak his thoughts that filled her heart, a vibrant light ignited within her throat. Glowing golden pink orbs wisped from her mouth in place of words, blotting out Vaughn's bewildered face. Suddenly, her feet gave out from under her. The apparition of Hyrene quickly dissolved as he shifted to catch her. In a near instant, a moment before he took her into his arms, the ground between their feet broke open. A powerful force pulled Navrin through the rift, and hungry white light devoured everything ahead of him. Vaughn dropped to his knees as at the escarpment's crumbling edge, then yelled, "Take my hand!" Navrin reached out for him, but she was already out of range. With no way to reverse their distance, she succumbed to her heaving breaths. Tears pooled in her eyes and left her purblind in a coffin of cementing light. Despite Vaughn's earnest attempt for a different outcome, the thieving light prevailed yet again. As she continued to float away into the void, Vaughn pulled back, then slammed his fist into the dirt. While belting a barrage of obscenities, he tried earnestly to preserve the thread of hope that kept him stitched together. But the unbearable idea of hope coaxed him to seek comfort in the blissful fever of rage. Vaughn pulled his abraded hands out from the dirt and bellowed. From fingertip to forearm, his skin blackened with fragments of flashing ebon shards, and his fingernails morphed into thick, rigid claws. Without hesitation, he tore ribbons through the obsidian-like formations into flesh and vein, pelting Navrin with blood as she fell away. Vaughn's belting energy continued to surface. Thick and smoky bone broke through the vertebrae along his arched back, spiked high before it coiled towards his ripping, transforming flesh. As he roared, his jaw dislocated and morphed into a new structure that split his lips. Massive clumps of muscle exploded over his frame, and razor-sharp teeth pierced through his gums in both directions. Beads of sweet beads of sweat gathered atop his pulsing veins, rising beneath his skin, and four broad, unevenly twisted horns slid out from his head, completing his hideous transformation. Amidst the ruins of Vaughn's perceived failure, Navrin studied his menacing form, kneeling at the cliff above. Focused upon his hauntingly familiar crimson gaze, a disorienting vision overtook her.
My turn.
Yeah.
Navrin sauntered down a stone hallway, drenched in amber glow from the rows of tapers that lit the way. She carried a bottle of wine she had picked up before her visit and was smiling at the label, almost entranced by her delight. "You will never guess what I found at Tegan's." Upon finding the obliterated wooden door to Benson's study, her jovial gait suddenly stopped. Fragments of broken viridian glass scattered across the stone floor after the bottle fell from her hand. The sweet yet pungent aroma of wine snaked up to her nostrils, but did nothing to break her senses from the terrifying sight before her. Standing askew with her mentor's throat in his grasp was a tall, misshapen beast with crooked horns atop its head, clothed in garments bursting at the seams. Navrin took hold of the dagger strapped to her thigh. As she swiftly unsheathed it, the sound of metal slipping past the scabbard caught the beast's attention. Strands of bubbling saliva dribbled off his long, razor-sharp teeth as he turned his head. Benson's body went limp under the eerie glow of his red eyes. Enraged, she charged the beast with her dagger gripped tightly. Anticipating a clumsy, lumbering response was a mistake, as he effortlessly maneuvered through her advances, then backhanded her into the rafters of the three-story library. Winded but still alert, she desperately reached for anything that could break her fall, to no avail. Unable to reorient herself for a proper landing, she crashed atop the stone floor with her dagger clanking just outside of her reach. The beast watched her wince and squirm while she collected herself, then gave Benson one last glance before tossing him to the side. As the beast bolted her way, Navrin snapped to her senses and scrambled to retrieve her dagger. With clenched teeth and trembling muscles, She darted toward him with a wrenching grimace, swung her blade against his impending fist, and then rolled beneath the remainder of his follow-through. A spray of red flicked onto the floor as she quickly hopped to her feet. While he recoiled, she leapt back onto his back and plunged her dagger into his shoulder. The beast blustered and flailed until she eventually lost her footing, yet she refused to dismount until she reclaimed her blade. Before she found the proper leverage on a large clump of writhing muscle at her shins, she reached behind his back, sunk his claws into her thigh, then hurled her into the bookshelf at the far end of the room. Navin readied herself in a defensive stance while Benson struggled to his feet. Grateful he was still alive, she urged him to flee as the beast prepared to charge her once again. The dagger, pointed at the creature in her line of sight, glinted a jagged edge where his blood had crystallized. The peculiar characteristic fascinated Navrin, though she broke away from her bewilderment in time to catch his approach. Focused and determined to prevail, she conjured a ball of fire with her palm, then lobbed the augmenting current into his face. As he howled and stumbled backward, Navrin clasped her dagger above her head and lunged for the pulsing rope-like artery on his neck. Though distracted, he was keen to her intent and swiftly thwarted her downward stab. The pair battled against each other's leverage and will until Navrin's knees buckled under his weight. While pinned to the ground, he tore away her dagger and then pummeled her with his fist and elbow until her welted, bloody face no longer cried out. Dazed and on the verge of losing consciousness, Navrin cleared her bloody airways with forceful coughing. Before she could manage a restorative breath, the beast snatched her by the hair and reeled her face into his. Acrid vapor rushed through his teeth and made her puffy, swollen face twist. Relishing her distress, his putrid grin stretched and peeled his blistery cheeks open. Certain he aimed to claim her life, Navrin's vision quaked with white as she struggled to break free. Beneath the ominous silence that befell the room, the beast suddenly released his grip. Puzzled by his unexpected yield, but not intending to waste the opportunity, she wriggled out from underneath him and reclaimed her dagger. The overwhelmingly dark, frenzied energy within him soon calmed, and as the uncertain moments passed, the haunting glow retraced back into his irises. While Navrin remained locked in thought, a strange glowing blue smoke slithered along the ground, coiled around the creature's limbs, and robbed him of control before he could react. As soon as his menacing energy resurfaced, his glowing eyes reignited. Navrin traced the flow of glowing smoke to find its source, aghast to discover it was pouring out of Benson's outstretched palms. The conjuration continued to wrap around the rest of the creature's body, constricting his misshapen limbs and strangling his breath. Panicked, he tried to break free with such feverish exertion that it appeared the veins on his neck would burst. Not long after his glowing eyes found Navrin again, he gave up the fight and succumbed to his restraints. Immediately, the smoke surged into his body and turned his flesh transparent. The room quaked as a series of indiscernible markings fell from the ceiling. Brilliant sparks quivered and formed a sizable double circle of light on the ground surrounding the creature. As shadows whipped across the room, Benson called for Navrin's retreat. 4 ropes of light emerged from the symbol and took hold of the beast's fading limbs, quartering him to the ground. Following a blinding flash, he was gone. As the glowing smoke dissipated, Navrin inspected the scorched sigil on the ground left behind by the snare. Silence overtook the study again, and Benson ambled over to his desk to rest himself after his demanding conjuration. Navrin approached him, but was quickly reminded of the deep gashes on her thigh as she stumbled. Although the steady flow of blood was concerning, she could not pull her eyes away from the thick crimson that drenched her leg. Entrenched by the metallic stench wafting in the air, she pressed into her wound, then slid her slick fingers together, detecting sharp particles of the beast's crystallized blood. The brilliance of a red halo retracted alongside Navrin's turbulent memory. Suspended in weightless white light, she watched the creature's despondent, glowing eyes fade. Inside her radiant durance, Navrin unlocked her fingers to find her hands bespattered in sparkling red shards. As she gazed upon them, The seed of a deep and painful longing sprouted in its rightful place within her heart. She could feel the incalculable distance between them, and though the task seemed nearly impossible, she knew Vaughn would stop at nothing to reach her once again.
Okay,
That's the prologue.
I'm 100% hooked, you guys. Absolutely. No questions. Hooked. So
Awesome.
this is book one.
Yes.
Mhm.
In a trilogy, or are there more books in the series than 3?
Pentology.
Yeah, we're shaping this out to be a pentology.
Ooh,
Yeah.
what fun. You don't get to hear
And
that word very often.
Love
and
it.
where Fragments lies is in the middle of the overall arc that we're writing. So this is a non-linear narrative that we're toying around. So you can expect from our next forthcoming book is going to kind of throw you back in time a little bit to set some.
So you're kind of being George Lucas here.
Absolutely.
Going frontwards and backwards.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us
Fragments is a new hope, basically. Yeah.
That's perfect. So tell us a little bit about the next book. What's the title and what's the general storyline about?
Yeah. Yeah. So the next book is called Reflections. And it's essentially going to be prequel material. So you could think of it like a Phantom Menace, but no Jar Jar.
Oh, good thing.
So, but but where Fragments is going to pick up is quite a bit of ways, and it's going to set a lot of foundation for a lot of our characters. Actually, we're going to dig into a lot of origins for them. Gonna maybe kind of because for people who read Fragments, they might have their ideas of who their favorite characters are or how they might think about certain characters.
Sure.
In Reflections, things might change, or they might kind of blow your mind wide open with some of them. But yeah, it's gonna set a lot of scenes. Gonna
So
get heavy into the world building.
Not predictable at all.
Sorry?
Not predictable at all.
Not exactly. Not
Yeah.
exactly. It's
Okay.
there's gonna be a lot of really interesting twists and a lot of like really gritty stuff that we're gonna dig into for sure.
So when does Reflections come out?
It is targeted for April 2026. So
Very exciting. Okay,
yeah.
that gives me time to read the first book before you guys launch the second.
Yeah. And the other fun thing about this one also is it's divided into 3 parts. And if you were to look at the cover, you'll notice that there's 3 distinct symbols
Yes.
within this frame, this triangular frame. And each symbol represents each part. We have one called Vile, the second called Vicious, and the third called Valiant. And each one has its own distinct mood, if you will.
Okay. Yeah. One last question before I let you guys go. Yeah. I'm looking at the cover, which I saw in Detroit, which was very, very cool, and I was immediately drawn to it. The art is just really neat. But I see snakes on the cover. So you guys gotta like give me a pre-warning because I have this totally irrational fear. How prominently do snakes play in this book?
The snake is only symbolic.
Yeah, purely symbolic. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That helps me. I can read your book now.
Yeah, there are no snakes. So we actually call so actually the artist that we work with is Adrian Baxter, and he's been amazing. He really gave us our identity here, and
it's spectacular.
It's we call that our spellbreaker. It symbolizes both 2 of our main characters, Navarre and Moena, and just obviously it's not really any spoiler. It's very much so on the back of the book and the full synopsis, if you will, but there's a spell that they're under and they're breaking out of it. So they're represented through strength by the sword, and the serpent is represented by the spell represents the serpent, and you could see that the serpent is shattering, if you will.
Sure. So, yeah. All right, cool. Yay. Now I feel better about reading the book. Okay.
I had 2 pets. I had 2 pet snakes growing up. I absolutely love snakes.
Okay, you're so weird. But so weird. But
no,
but I like you anyway.
Brazilian rainbow boa. You could, if you check out Brazilian rainbow boa, you can see how beautiful they just like shine in the light. It might change your whole perception of them. They are beautiful.
Never. No, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming on the program today. This was super fun, and I hope when the new book comes out, you'll come back and read to me again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We're
Okay,
hungry to
wonderful.
get to reading it for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I wish you nothing but tremendous success, and I hope everybody discovers you.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. It's just the start of our journey.
Just the
Yeah.
start of our journey.
Excellent. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
You
Thank
as
you.
well.